You mentioned how you came from a place where you weren't empathetic, didn't have an understanding of empathy, and now have a book on it.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you walk us through that journey? And then I'm going to shut up and let Jason talk for a while.
Okay. So I'm an engineer by degree, and people don't always think about it this way, but engineering school teaches you how to not be empathetic. So let's say I got to get 200,000 parts out on Friday, and you're sick, Jason. I need to put somebody else in that spot, and I don't need to be thinking about them as a human.
Right.
I just need somebody I can plug into that spot and can do the job just as you did without any break in productivity. And that's what engineering is. How can I make things designed so well that the show goes on? It's the reason why airplanes don't crash nearly as much anymore. It's not because pilots are better. We have engineered out the human dynamics that make it such that you can put your battery in your car wrong. You can't. You can try, but you can't. It's not possible.
Right.
You can't do it anymore, where you used to be able to. And so I've been trained kind of to be more objective, less thoughtful about individual people and taking more of a bird's eye view. But my mom in particular is probably the primary reason why I'm not very empathetic. So I know I've not been in therapy about this, but it's true. She was the minister of food at church. And so then she would feed everybody at home too. And I think that sounds good in theory until you have 50, 60 people coming by your house every day. And when you're a kid, that's just disruptive. And some of these people have had interesting backgrounds, have made interesting choices. And while they're coming to eat, they're also telling stories about, they've been in jail like the 4th time, or they don't have their kids because the state has taken them. I mean, just story after story after story. And as a child, I was overwhelmed. And I would just zone out. Like, do you need some toast with that? I mean, I just would just completely.
Right.
It was overwhelming for me. I didn't have good boundaries. And I used to think she didn't have good boundaries. And then when she passed away, there were so many people who were wanting to come to celebrate her. We had to have 2 services, and we had to go to a different place because there were thousands of people who wanted to celebrate her life.
Touched so many lives.
And what was interesting about her death was that she was killed by a guy who was stolen a car and was drinking and driving and had run a red light. So we're now in this murder trial.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm doing the engineering thing, right? I take off work for the little bit of time they give you, and then I go back to work, and I'm just supposed to just do my work because the show must go on. And you're grabbing your face because that's not how it works.
Yeah.
And so for the first time in my life, my brain could not get me out of what I was emotionally feeling.
Right.
And I started to notice other people who were having that same experience. And I realized that before then, I was one of those people who would have never noticed. And it just drastically changed the way I think about people. Once I got over my grief event, I did start to try to train leaders to be better, but I wasn't thinking about empathy. I still thought about that as something HR people do, or I don't know, your therapist or something. But one day I was talking to one of the wealthiest people in my region, and he had sat through one of my leadership sessions, and he said, thank you very much. And I'm like, okay, what is he about to say next? Like, when people giving you feedback, they start giving you the good stuff first. You're like, oh my God, what's happening? What's about to come? And he goes, that was really good intellectually, but I was hoping that you would help me get it emotionally. And then he said a whole bunch of things after that, but I was just stuck on, did he just tell me he don't care nothing about what I just said?
Yeah.
He just told me he didn't care what I just said. But it was an epiphany because I was like, none of this stuff we're trying to do is going to work unless we really learn how to care, meaning what is Jason really thinking, feeling, believing? What does he need right now? I do love my artwork. If my agent talked to me about what would happen if there was some travesty and I lost these pieces and wasn't able to get them replaced, I'd probably do my audit, I'd probably do it. But I get busy and I prioritize other things. And I just truly believe that no matter what our jobs are, if we can lean into empathy, that it'll make us better at it. That's what I think.
Love it. So true.